I'm gonna give you 10 of the best gym exercises that you can use for tennis, and we're gonna start right now. I'm Olympic strength coach Dane Miller, and one of the biggest things that we've seen as we've worked through 10 world championships, as I've helped different athletes, different coaches become NCAA All-Americans, become NCAA champs, is that everybody needs some sense of plyometrics. They've got to train their core. They've got to train their hips and their lateral movement. And one thing that we have to touch on is that we put out a little vote, and around 64% of the people who voted for these tennis exercises recognize that we need agility. So this is going to bring us into that first exercise that you guys can use today when you go train for tennis. And we're gonna do an easy depth drop. Easy, just think about this. We can start here, boom, pause, okay? Now think about with tennis, we wanna have some type of lateral movement, right? So we have some type of lateral movement. Well, what if we have lateral movement and then we have to go up and make a play in front of us that's a little bit shorter than we anticipated? Well, now we can go here, boom, 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 boom. So we wanna go depth drop so that we're prepared. Our hips are strong, our core is strong when we land, boom. We don't wanna collapse. Be tense in your trunk, okay? Have that trunk control. We go here, boom, 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 boom. Obviously we can go a little bit harder and we can go through that 5 sets on each side. That's gonna train your trunk, it's gonna train your hips. Now the next movement we're gonna get into is gonna be something that's really complex. It's gonna help with that shoulder stability, which is key with tennis players. And it's also gonna help with your coordination. So we can go here, go through here, into the hip lock, into a lunge, push back. Here, up, boom, push back. Here, up, boom. Here, up, boom. So that is a swinging RDL into a hip lock, into a drop lunge. That movement is absolutely fantastic for your glutes, for your shoulder stability, for your trunk, for your core when you're in that lunge position. It's also incredible for deceleration. If we're training tennis players, we might think like, hey, let's do side band walks and then play while we have a band around our knees. It's okay. I think it's a little lame. I think there's a little bit better stuff that we can do that transfers at high speed. And then finally, the third one I'm gonna give you here, just in this first little group, is gonna be something based off of shuffling. So we're here, we're planting, and we're sprinting back. But to do this, I like to train athletes with intent. How can we shift into high gear? How can we get into overdrive? Also, in tennis, we have to train the quiet eye. And that means we can sort of block everything out. So I'm doing this because I am focusing just on the camera. I'm focusing just straight on the lens. I'm blocking everything else out around me. And we need to do that when we're actually playing in a game. So if we take this next drill, I'm gonna try to execute this well. I'm gonna throw this, shuffle, I'm gonna hit down there, and I gotta sprint out, find the ball, and make the play. Oh, that was a little sloppy, but what we can do is we're gonna go shuffle, 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 plant here, and go to wherever that ball is, right? And this is gonna train us to calculate our steps. Boom, get out. And we wanna have the right amount of force on the front part of our outside foot, and then on the outside foot, or the outside part of this foot. That's gonna help us get out of the cut. So when we're doing these 3 movements, we have to learn where we're putting force into the ground. We have to learn how to control our core, our hips, our shoulders, and then we can train this over and over again in the gym so that when we get on the court and we're executing things that are technical, we don't have to think about how to properly place our feet. The next thing that we're gonna focus on now is we're actually gonna do traditional strength training movements, and I believe that traditional movements are okay for tennis players. They're gonna, in fact, lead to greater performance, especially this first one, because you really have to think about your coordination at high speeds. And this is going to be a split jerk. Just in the fact of it's gonna help with our explosiveness. It's gonna help with our change of direction. It's gonna help with our shoulder stability. Okay, you will get greater co-contractions in your shoulder from this exercise. I'm gonna throw in a really, really cool aspect here. Okay, so if we do a behind the neck jerk here, with my right foot forward, okay? Recover, and I wanna move that weight fast. Here, boom, right foot forward. The phenoms are learning how to jerk with your right foot forward and your left foot forward. So we need to add in, this is gonna feel weird, boom. Oh, that was so weird. That left foot, okay? Here, boom. And what ends up happening is that as a tennis player, you start to feel different but in a really good way. It's gonna open up some aspects of your game. So if you can use both sides of your body effectively, you're gonna be more coordinated on the court, you're gonna be more stable on the court, you're gonna be making better cuts at higher speeds, and you're gonna improve your overall performance. All right, so when we're looking at tennis, we gotta think through change of direction, decelerating with trunk control, and then getting out of those cuts as quickly as possible. So being able to be mobile, stable, and twitchy. When I'm looking at the best athletes that we've trained, that have gone to the Olympics, that have become professional athletes, one of the movements that we will use to get individuals as fast and as explosive as possible. They can jump higher from this exercise, they can run faster from this exercise, they can cut quicker, okay, is going to be a front squat. Now, a lot of tennis players will love to do this with a goblet squat. Just use a barbell, just use a bar. A goblet's fine, but use a bar, please. Just try it with a bar and try and work through that full range of motion or even to a box. And so we're gonna get set here. We have to focus on our abs and we have to focus on our hips. Our ankles will become more mobile if we can get comfortable down in the bottom. 1, 2, up. One more. 1, 2, get a command up. As fast as possible, okay? And that's the thing. We don't need to go crazy heavy where we're getting to the point of front squatting 200 kilos. Let's just get to the point as a tennis player where we can front squat 100 kilos as a male or 80 kilos as a woman. We can build up over a long period of time, and that's gonna help become more explosive, and that's gonna lead to greater change of direction. Now, the next general strength movement that is my all-time favorite when we're training for a sport that involves crazy cutting is going to be a single leg squat. And we're gonna use this single leg roller and pad, okay? So we're gonna use this as a target point. I'm gonna put my foot in position here. I can comfortably get down with my knee here, okay? So we can use this roller instead of a bench. So if you guys use a bench and you want something more comfortable, that's gonna optimize your performance in this exercise and also gonna lead to greater sports performance. This single leg roller is available at GarageStrength.com. Now, I have the bar on my back, okay? And I'm gonna analyze with the coach. I'm gonna say, hey, coach, when our athletes on the court, do they struggle when their front foot is really long, or do they struggle when their front foot is a little bit tighter on the cuts? So we can analyze footage, see where they struggle, and then that's what we're gonna train for the most part. We're gonna go here, okay, work through that, and have a stable trunk. A lot of tennis players want to train stability. They want to train their abs. They want to train balance. But then you put a barbell on their back and you do a single leg squat and they're falling all over the place. It's like, hey, I don't think you have much balance. Let's try and improve this so you can put out more force. You put out more force, you can hit the ball a little harder. Boom, okay, so 3 on each side, build up over time. Again, this is something that's gonna really help with that explosiveness in a unilateral position. Now let's get into some more exercises that are gonna be a little bit of a mixture of uniqueness and some traditional aspects. So this video is 10 exercises for tennis, but really I think it's about 15 to 16 because we're gonna give you one of my favorite group of accessory movements that you can use to really strengthen your shoulders. And that's one thing I wanna bring up is that we have a strength training app, Peak Strength. Okay, so inside of Peak Strength, we have tennis-specific programming. Okay, so this is developed to help tennis players specifically based off of their needs, based off of trying to get faster, based off of being explosive, having that trunk control, having explosive hip movement, and being able to execute movements at high speeds. Now, the first exercise I want to give you guys here that's related to accessory exercises for your shoulder is going to be a dumbbell external rotation. So we can go down nice and controlled, come back up. Nice and controlled on the way down, come back up. I think this is one of the best movements that you can use to strengthen your shoulder girdle. Okay, so I'm here, come back up. Here, come back up. And we'll use movements like this inside of Peak Strength. They're very dynamic, but they're also standard to improving your overall strength. When we're looking at a sport like tennis, we have to figure out where could weaknesses be and try to strengthen them. That's what we're doing when we lay out those tennis programs inside of Peak Strength. The next crazy movement is gonna be a variation off of that dumbbell external rotation. This is gonna be a higher speed movement that you would do later on in your programming. So if you're inside of Peak Strength, maybe by like week 20, week 24, week 28, you would get a more advanced accessory like this, okay? And I want you to think about having your hand in line with your trunk. And I'm here, come back up. High speed, boom. And I wanna be stable when I catch at the top, okay? I don't wanna be bouncing all over the place. That's more of a tantrum if I would be here, which I'm giving you another exercise. I'm gonna come back up, Chaos and hold. Chaos and hold. Chaos and hold, okay? And we want to have the hand here, okay? Try to have that in line. This is absolutely incredible for your shoulder strength, especially at high speeds because of that deceleration. Now I'm gonna show you another variation of the external rotation, and then I'm gonna come back and show you one of my all-time favorite upper body exercises that you will definitely see inside of peak strength. So this is where we're gonna go with a drop, and this is going to help with that quiet eye. And I'm using my left arm here, which is not a good idea. So I can go here, boom. Oh my gosh, my left arm's so bad. Boom, boom, boom. So we wanna drop, catch, and come back up. Now again, boom, boom, boom. This is a movement that you're gonna use when you're a more experienced tennis player. This is an exercise that you've gotta build into. You have to have that base strength foundation. Okay, so inside peak strength, we're gonna start you with that periodized program. After you work through a couple different base phases, then you're gonna get closer to achieving the progress to do more of these advanced exercises. Oftentimes people will see an advanced movement like this and they wanna do it right away, which is fine. We've gotta build into those and think about where we are with our benchmarks. So if you guys need training, head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store, download Peak Strength and select that you wanna train in that tennis program. Now the next movement is my all-time favorite movement, and you will 100% see the miracle grow inside of Peak Strength. So we're gonna get set with a band. I wanna lengthen my lats, and I've got a movement at the end of this video that pairs with this incredibly well. And you're gonna see it and be like, wow, this is freaking awesome. This is gonna help me with tennis. I can do these today when I go to the gym. So I'll get in position here. I wanna have good thoracic extension, okay? And I'm gonna come up. Oh yeah, there it is. And I'm gonna have tension at the top. I'm gonna come down. Now the band releases, and then I come back up. Down, band releases, come back up, and I have more tension. At the top here, I'm almost in this hollow hold. I'm like squeezing through my belly button while I have that tension in my lats. Nice and deep, nice and deep, nice and deep, boom. Okay, so we're gonna do a banded miracle grow. You can do that for like 4 sets of 9. And then we're gonna get into one of the best pull-up variations that you guys can use to become better tennis players, but we're gonna walk behind the cameraman right now. Okay, so now we're gonna be getting set here, okay? We have our rings. A lot of arguments or a lot of problems that I have, not necessarily arguments, but disagreements I have, is that I think tennis players should be able to bang out like 15 pull-ups if they're a male, 10 to 12 pull-ups if they're females. Hold yourself to that high standard. That's gonna increase your lat strength, your shoulder stability, and your force that you can apply into the racket. Now, the movement that I'm gonna use here, the high ring pull-up, the awesome part about it is that I can get better range of motion. So I'm gonna be able to pull those hands into my armpits, basically, and try and squeeze as much as I can with my scaps at the top. So almost try and like bend those rings apart and almost put pressure on my spine. It's not gonna happen, but think about like hugging your spine as much as possible. Boom, like this. Come down and hold that position. One more. And what tennis players over time can do is they can bust out like 5 to 10 unweighted. Then you can do 3 to 5 reps weighted and build up over time, and then do some crazy drop sets. But I believe when we're training that upper body, focusing on the core, doing exercises like the miracle grows, focusing on the shoulders, and then the lats here with the high ring pull-ups, these are some great gym exercises that you can use to improve your tennis, but we still have to focus on speed. Okay, so when we're building out a speed program, we like to look at it through acceleration. And when we think about acceleration, we'll have a start in the acceleration. Then we think about top speed. Top speed is running as fast as possible. Can we be Usain Bolt? Unlikely, no, right? But that's something that we're gonna work towards. And then we factor in change of direction. Now, the interesting part here is with tennis is that oftentimes tennis players, typically you would not train too much top speed work. Even though we've seen in research that top speed work will transfer to acceleration, we just have to keep that in the back of our mind. But then we'll look at overcoming a start. That would be like a front squat, a single leg squat. That's gonna transfer to when we're in a static position and we've gotta make a play or a move. That's also gonna transfer, and that's gonna train that change of direction. That's where the shuffle into the sprint comes into play. Now we're looking at strictly acceleration, okay? And these two movements are gonna play a massive role in improving acceleration. So if we can plant, change direction, and accelerate at extraordinarily fast paces, meaning we get to top end faster, which is what the best tennis players are good at, that means we need to use something like a sled when we're doing our sprints, okay? So if we're getting into sprint-based training, let's say we use about 10% of our body weight is on the sled, we do something like 10 sets of 20-yard sprints. So we'll get into place here, and I'm gonna share the second movement when I'm done this sprint. We're gonna sprint through 15 to 20 yards, and we're gonna rest about 2.5 minutes, try to recover so that we can get back into that sprint again and accelerate as rapidly as possible. The second aspect that I really like, and I think this can play a big role in your strength, but also your endurance. So you're gonna run faster, you're gonna get stronger in the quads and the glutes, and your endurance is gonna improve drastically, would be doing hill sprints. So get a decent hill. You can do like 8 hill sprints. You can do shuffles up a hill. You can do change of direction work on the hill. Hill sprints, weighted sprints. This is one of the best ways that you guys as tennis players can use to improve that acceleration, which will then transfer the court. But we still got that one sweet movement that you guys can use to really improve your overall hitting power. Okay, so the last exercise. Tennis players love stability balls. They love doing weird things on Bosu balls, stability balls. You'll squat on them. You'll do all this other crazy stuff. I'm not a huge fan of that stuff. I like more traditional things, but this movement is an exercise I've seen tennis players use, baseball pitchers, javelin throwers, and I believe it's absolutely phenomenal for training the core and then leading into that shoulder stability at high speeds, okay? So we're gonna get set here, and I wanna get into that overhead position, and I can already feel my abs starting to bounce a little bit. It's a very similar feeling to when we were doing the banded miracle grows. That's why I like those two movements. They can almost be paired together in a contrast scenario. So we'll be here, boom, there we go. Here, boom, there we go. And you can just rip that back and forth. I will say, get comfortable in the beginning, okay? Try to feel that hip extension into the flexion. Try to feel through the abs and feel that transfer into the hands. Because remember, freaks, if you want to become a champion, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.